The hardest part about being a step parent, whether it's a stepmom or stepdad, is discipline. It's a fine line when it comes to discipline. You can love your stepkid to the moon and back. You can buy them things. You can teach them lessons. You can pick them up when they fall. You can put Band-Aids on their cuts. But the minute you lecture them, it becomes a different ball game, right? As a parent, as a father, it's hard to see my son get lectured by somebody else. It's really hard, right? But if they love them, they should be able to discipline them. I remember a time my stepdaughter got out of pocket. They're great kids. They don't give me a hard time at all. And I lectured her, and I raised my voice, and it was a real big issue. And her mom was standing right there in the corner, and she looked at her mom, and she goes, "Yo, you're gonna let this man yell at me?"
Yep. That right there is why y'all see me out here and y'all saying I'm simping. Y'all saying, you do nice stuff for your wife. You try to understand her. You try to tap in on the emotional level. You try to make things work. Is because I don't want my children to have a stepdad, and I don't want to be a stepdad, right? I don't want to be a stepdad for reasons like this, because I'm gonna tell you something right now. It's hard enough just being a regular dad, like being someone's biological dad. They don't like when you tell them something. They not like, "Oh, you my regular dad. All right, let me go to the corner. All right, you my regular dad. I'm going to put the oatmeal down, or I'm going to stop what I'm doing because you my regular dad." That's not what happened. There's still conflict. There's still issues. You know what I mean? But if they have that ammo of, "Well, you're not my real dad," you know how defeating that can be as a man, right? That's like you having a car that you pay for. You driving around. You pay the insurance. You pay the bill every month, right? Your name, whatever, and then all of a sudden you get pulled over, and when you get pulled over, they're like, "Sir, you're going to jail because this car is stolen." Meanwhile, you didn't steal it. You doing all the things that you're supposed to be doing. You getting the car wash, you vacuuming the rugs, you not eating while you driving and spilling stuff on the seat and finding it later. None of that. You taking care of business. But when things go wrong, you get punished for it in an unusual way. That's what it's like being a step parent. That's exactly what it's like being a step parent. And so when I'm talking to men, especially if you're single, you don't have any kids, and you're out here finding a chick, the worst thing you want to do is go for a chick that has kids. Not because she's a bad person, but because when you go for a chick with kids, and if it doesn't work out, you lose those kids. And then if it does work out, depending on the age of those kids, they know that you're not their father, and they can always use that against you when you actually step up and try to be a father and make it to where they not no hoe, or they son not a gangbanging YN that don't have no respect for nobody. So be very careful. But we gonna let him finish talking what he talking about, and we gonna get deeper into it.
I'm gonna call my daddy. And my heart sank because I'm this man now as I'm teaching you a lesson. But I wasn't this man when you was hungry, or you needed a ride to school, or you needed school clothes or sneakers. You're only this man on the flip note of discipline. Correcting a kid that's not yours is extremely difficult. And then you want to crash out. What the fuck you mean, this man? And you want to tell him all the things you've done, but you can't do that. You got to be grown. Or you want to say, "You're going to call your daddy out. Fuck that dude. Call him. I dare you. Have him pull up to my crib." You know what I'm saying? But you can't. You got to swallow that. And then it becomes difficult when you have stringent rules with your kids, but your stepkids don't follow those rules. It's like, "Yo, dad, how come I got to do such and such, but they don't have to do it?" Listen, bruh, I'm sorry, but they're not required by their mom and dad. You're required by your mom and dad, And then you got to pull them to the side and be like, "Bro, they going to be pieces of shit. You don't want to be no piece of shit." You got to make them feel better some way or somehow. But by far, the hardest part is the discipline.
Hey, me personally, I just wouldn't be in this situation. I'm not mad at those of you who are in this situation, or, you're like, "Oh, well, I found a woman, her kids are great, they love me." But understand this, you can do all the right things as a step parent. Hell, you could do all the right things as a dad, and as just a biological dad. They're going to find some reason to attack you or some reason to not like you at a certain point if you're stopping them from doing something that they want to do. But as a stepdad, it goes even further. One, because at least when you have biological children, if you and the mom don't work out, those are still your kids. You can still have access to them and blah, blah, blah. With the stepkids, it's going to be a little bit more difficult. On top of that, depending on the age, they're always going to take the stepmom's side. They're going to be, you know, more loyal to the stepmom. And like the dude said, at a certain point when it becomes like the teenage years or, you know, whatever, they're not going to like you disciplining them. They're not going to like you getting on them about stuff. And they're going to throw it in your face as often as possible. You are not my dad. You are not my father. And, you know, I think it takes a certain type of man to deal with that. Me personally, I couldn't deal with it. I'm going to just be real. I'm not your dad. I'm too petty. All right, cool. I'm not your dad. Then, you know, I'm not paying for you to eat. I'm not paying for clothes. I'm not paying for shoes. I'm not showing up to the father-daughter dance. I'm not your dad, right? But we also can't blame the children because they didn't ask to be in a broken family. They didn't ask to be in a situation where, you know, they have a step parent. So it's just a messed up situation. It's one of those things where you see the stories and it works out and it's like, oh, that's beautiful. Look, you know, stepdads can do it. But then more often than not, it's like stepdad is a thankless job. It's a thankless job. And so if you are, I want to talk solutions here. If you're a single dude and you're thinking about getting with a chick with a child, I would caution you against it. And I would also just advise that you go find a chick that doesn't have kids and you try to, you know, build from there, because I'm telling you, you're fighting an uphill battle. You're already fighting an uphill battle when you have your own biological children and you're trying to make a relationship work and you're trying to figure out work-life balance and figure out, you know, more about yourself as a man and stuff. Let alone in the back of your mind, knowing that you're paying for a child that can be taken from you at any moment, who probably won't appreciate you until they're an adult, and even then it's like you're gonna get blamed for stuff that's not even your fault and stuff. Like, it's a very thankless job. It's very thankless. So if you're cool with being in a thankless position, if you're cool with being the bad guy all the time, if you're cool with being told you're not their father and stuff like that, then go for it. But if you want to build something that you can truly feel like is your own, I would go for women that do not have children, and I would try that avenue as much as possible first. And if you just gotta be a stepdad, you just like, hey, my stepdad senses are tingling, by all means. All right. I'm not here to tell you, you know, exactly how to live your life, but I would advise against it. All right, y'all. That's it from me. I'll see y'all in the next video. My name is Fitz. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. Appreciate y'all. See y'all next time.